Hi everybody, good morning. My name is Barry Schwartz and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, October 16th, the day you could pre-order the iPhone, and I did. That's why I'm a bit late with this video, a bit jittery because the website kept going down, but I got it. I'm sure you're all very excited for me. I went graphite. I was gonna go blue, but blue was kind of already delayed by the time the website started working, and I'm sure you just don't care about any of this, but I just went through the process, so you had to listen to it. Any event, some big changes happening on this week in terms of search. Google announced some massive changes coming up with Google Search, and I'll discuss all of those. There were continued indexing issues throughout this week, and with that, Google removed their request indexing tool temporarily. They came out with a new search quality raters guidelines. It has been updated, and Bing Site Explorer has been relaunched completely, plus a lot more. So stay tuned, and if you're watching this on an iPhone 12, cool. Okay, so first up, the big Google search announcements. Google had an event last night called Search On 2020. And in that event, they basically announced some things that they already launched as well as things they are launching. So on the top of the list, they basically said that BERT, which launched about a year ago actually, in 10% of English queries, and it was expanded to 70 plus languages, but it launched with about 70%, it launched with in 10% of English language queries. It's now used in almost every single English query, Google said. So that's big news there. So BERT's much broadly used. Google improved their spelling corrections. In fact, they said this single change is the biggest change in terms of spelling corrections they made in the past, I think, 5 years. On the bigger front on this news, they announced something about passage indexing. Now, I wrote a long article about this in Search Engine Land after they announced this, and it's going to impact, it's not live yet. When it goes live at the end of this year, it's going to impact about 7% of all queries, which is very big. But also, they called it passage indexing, where they're able to say, here's a page of content, and on that page of content, we're going to index this little, zoom into this little piece of content. So this maybe section of that content. So you have a huge page about, let's say, how Google search works. And in that section, you have sections about BERT and spelling corrections and ranking and indexing. And somebody searched for how does BERT work, Google could zoom into that BERT piece, that section on BERT on that one page and say, that's what you want, that's what we want to index. Now, the problem is Google called it indexing. And it's not an indexing change. I spoke to Google. It's actually a ranking change. Google's still going to index the full page. It's not going to index individual components of that page. It's going to index the full page, but it's going to be able to zone in and zoom in on that piece of content on that page for ranking purposes. Okay, so it's not an indexing change, it's a ranking change, and it's not live yet. It will be live towards the end of this year, and it's going to be a big change where it's going to impact about 7% of all queries. So it's very interesting. I gave more examples in Search Engine Land if you want to take a look at that as well. Google also announced the ability to understand subtopics in a better way, using applied neural nets to understand those subtopics around interesting topics for greater diversity around something that's more broad in search. So it's pretty interesting to see there. They also announced they're going to increase the key moments feature, where it says in this video timeline to show up for about 10% of queries. They're improving the popular times around COVID info, which I wrote about a little bit later. So now the COVID, like if you go to a store, you want to know how busy it is, it's going to actually show you more accurate information. Google Lens has been updated to support tap on an image to discover the products you're browsing on, help you just with homework. Bing does that already, and virtually bring your dream car into your driveway, which is a bunch of other things, which is pretty cool. Google also said you could actually go ahead and hum a song to it, and it will tell you what that song is. Plus a lot more, a lot of big, interesting topics on duplex and so forth. So definitely take a look at that news. It's going to impact you, especially that passage stuff. It's very interesting. On the indexing front, we had two stories this week around maybe search ranking updates or maybe it's continuing indexing bugs. And I think those two articles are mostly around indexing bugs, not ranking changes. So definitely take a look at that. I posted one on October 12th, and I posted one on October 14th. Google gave us updates on the indexing bug. I think the mobile indexing issues they had are completely fixed for the most part, but the canonical issue is not completely fixed. Last we heard was earlier this week, I think on Monday, it was like half fixed, and we haven't heard since. So I'm wondering what status on there. It seems like there's more issues. Now, a lot of SEOs are going to Google Search Console URL inspection tool and then clicking on the request indexing feature. That seems to be overloaded because all the indexing bugs, everybody's going to Google Search Console and trying to push content to Google manually. And I think that's caused a lot of issues with Google. They actually said they are going to suspend that feature, the request indexing feature. If you try to use it, it's going to show you this like, it's going to be grayed out. Indexing requests are currently suspended. And it's temporarily suspended. The question is how long? Will it be a few weeks? Will it be a couple weeks? Google said coming weeks. We don't know how long it is. And they said it's due to infrastructure changes. Now, I suspect they're all related. The indexing issues, this people rushing to it, I think it's all related, and Google's probably going to fix it soon. The question is how soon. Google Search Console, the data anomalies page had 2 notices. Well, 3. One is the request indexing issue, but the other 2 is around search performance reports, where on October 6th going forward, the web stories carousel feature launched, and you're going to see significant increases to your web stories on Discover. And on September 25th to 28th, the school around Discover as well, web stories were shown less often to Discover users during this period for some issue. So you might see a drop there. So just keep that in mind. Those are reporting issues. Google had other issues this week. One is around sports scores. I think on Sunday, Google had issues showing correct sports scores. And that issue dragged out through Monday, and I think they fixed it. And also, Google's John Mueller said yesterday that, well, actually said earlier this month, that basically Google News is having problems getting news sites into it. Not sure exactly what that means because Google said they no longer have to accept sites into Google News. So maybe it's an automated thing, but Google News is having issues also. Other big news this week is that Google launched an update or released an update to their Google Search Quality Raters guidelines. It was previously updated on December 5th, 2019, and now it's been updated as of October 14th, 2020. I did actually give a changelog, courtesy of Google, of what has changed. Google posted actually a changelog for the first time. So one of the things that they changed in this document is they actually show you what has changed on the last page. This is great. And then let me just tell you what they wrote there. They added a note to clarify the ratings do not directly impact the search results. They added emphasized the role of examples in these guidelines as an independent section to the introduction. They added clarifications for special content result blocks that may have links to landing pages, and they added examples to that. They added more around guidance for malware warnings. They added changed the order of rating flags in the relationship between page quality and needs meets. They added a whole new section around rating dictionary and encyclopedia results for different types of queries and a lot more. So definitely take a look at that. That document has expanded by several pages, and it's great weekend reading. Google's mobile first indexing change got a lot of interesting discussion. So John Mueller did give a keynote or Q&A at PubCon this week, and he basically summed up what's happening with mobile indexing. He's saying, okay, we had the deadline of September 2020, and we pushed that deadline over to March 2021. If you've been watching my videos or reading the blog here, you would have known that mobile indexing is being fully switched over as of March 2021. It was originally going to be September, but because of COVID, they pushed it off to give people more time. Now, there's lots of questions around that, and the issue is when Google first launched this initiative in 2016, they called it mobile first indexing. It really should be called mobile only indexing as of March 2021, because Google's only going to be indexing your website using the mobile version of their Googlebot. So it doesn't mean if you have a desktop only site, Google will index your desktop only site, but using their mobile user agent. But if you have a mobile site and a desktop site, Google's going to only look at the mobile version of that website, which means that you need to make sure that your mobile site is equivalent in terms of content, links, structured data, schema, navigation, site architecture, all that type of stuff from your desktop site. Now, most of your sites, that most of the people watching, I think probably 75% of the sites already have been moved over to mobile first indexing. So this is kind of not a big deal. This is already done for you guys. But if they haven't been moved over, there's an issue. You probably are in a situation where your mobile site is not equivalent enough, at least to your desktop site, and there will be ranking issues when this switches over. So just keep that in mind. Google probably should update the name to mobile only indexing. This week also, big news from Bing. Bing launched or relaunched their Bing Site Explorer. It's rebuilt from the ground up. It wasn't just a migration from the old to the new. It's a revamped Bing Site Explorer. And it basically shows you how Bing sees your site from a search perspective. It actually lays it out in a structural perspective in terms of your structure of your navigation, which is pretty cool. Shows you index issues, errors, warnings, excluded issues, clicks, impressions. You could even request indexing. It's a really cool tool. Definitely dig into it. It's live for everybody in Bing Webmaster Tools. Also, Bing Webmaster Tools now supports right to left languages like Hebrew and Arabic, so keep that in mind. Google's key moments in this video feature, where it shows the video and it actually jumps to certain areas when Google search, it actually now added transcripts to that. I think they actually tested this a while ago, but now it seems to be live. Google said, where you actually go ahead and get this highlight text dropdown. So if you click from a featured snippet to a page, sometimes Google will drop you down on that page and highlight that text using Chrome. You have to have Chrome or a modern browser. It's using a text fragment markup feature. You're soon to be able to actually control the style of that text fragment highlight feature. So instead of it just being highlighted in yellow, you could actually highlight it in blue, green, and use different types of styles there if you wanted to. That's coming soon to a Chrome browser near you. Google Search is asking people who went to certain e-commerce sites, asking them if they purchased at that e-commerce site, and then asking them to leave a review about that purchase process. It asks people, have you made an online purchase from, in this case, ae.com, which is, I don't even know, Anthropology, I don't know, one of these websites. And if so, then it takes you through the process of how to actually rate that experience so that other people who are looking to buy there could buy there. Wonder what Google's going to do with that information. Google's now, again, testing how-to schema or how-to rich results directly in the desktop search results. It's been live in the mobile search results for a while. Google tested it back in May, dropped it off a few weeks later, and now it seems to be back, which is very interesting. I wonder if it will stay. Google has been testing related searches at the top of the site, at the top of the search results. Google's also testing showing ads directly in the Google Maps autocomplete suggestions predictions. So as you start typing something, it might show an ad, in this case, Red Lobster. Google said they will disapprove feeds from free shopping listings. The Google Merchant Center will disapprove these feeds from Google Merchant Center. They said they preemptively disapprove feeds free standard listings for products that are marked as out of stock in the product data merchant center, but are in stock on the landing pages. So if they're really in stock on your website, but they're out of stock based on what you're sending to Google, Google's just going to disapprove them for better search quality. And it's only affecting the free listings, not the paid listings. Google's wait times, local wait times, live results for when you want to see how busy a store is before you go to it, completely out of whack. It might be related to what Google's going to be releasing soon, but tons and tons of restaurants are complaining that their listings show them as busy when they're completely dead. Obviously with COVID, restaurants are pretty much empty these days. And the Google Maps results that show you what the live indicator is or popular times is are completely inaccurate. And it's concerning restaurants because they want people to come in and they don't want people to think that the restaurant is busy. Google has added more health safety checks for Google My Business, so that would show up on the front end side. I haven't seen it yet show up on the front end where it shows you the health checks, where it shows you mask required, safety dividers at checkout and stuff like that. So they added a bunch of other few features. The stuff they added outside of mask requires and staff have to wear masks and temperature checks. They added 2 new ones called safety dividers at checkout and staff required to disinfect surfaces between visits. So that's nice to see. And Google's going to be releasing that soon, I guess, to the public so they could view it on Google Local. Also, Google launched Google Podcast Manager, which is great. It's a new, basically it's like search performance and search analytics for podcast owners. You could actually register at podcastmanager.google.com. You enter your RSS feed. It will actually then submit it to Google. And then you get all this data around meaningful views, clicks, plays, how long people played the episodes, the most popular episodes, and so forth, and how people discover that. Very interesting. I can't wait to see that data. I actually submitted it, but I've seen no data as of now, and I submitted it several days ago, so I'm not sure what's taking so long. And finally, Google announced that they are working on a new Google Virtual Webmaster Conference. This is not going to be limited. It's going to be unlimited to as many people as could fit, as many people who want to join. There's no limit. I guess it's going to be more of a broadcast versus a interactive session, and that's going to be live sometime in February 2021. So definitely take a look at that. It's going to be coming soon. Sorry this video was a little bit longer, a bit jittery again. When the websites don't work and you're trying to buy something that you really want to buy, it gets you jittery. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. Today is Friday, October 16th. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. And that's when the iPhone's coming. Bye.